So let's talk about Locke and natural rights. As I said, Locke believes that we are born with inalienable moral rights that cannot be taken away by anyone. Okay, I have natural rights. Most specifically, I have the right to life and to own property. Okay, so I have specifically, according to Locke, two natural rights: the right to life and the right to own property. Own property. Okay, so I have those two natural rights. No one is permitted to take these away from me. It is simply not permissible. And if the government tries, I am required to overthrow that government, because the government is not allowed to take away my right to life or my right to own property. So that is why we engage in the social contract. Locke believed that we're all naturally inclined to peaceful coexistence. We're sociable and will cooperate, but that doesn't mean that everybody's going to be wonderful. We need the government. We need to enter into the social contract so we have a state. And we need the state for these three particular reasons. We need the state so that they can clearly state the natural moral laws in a way people can understand. We need the state to provide impartial judges to settle any disputes. And we need the state to enforce the laws to protect the people. Okay? So we need to have a clear idea of what the laws are. If disputes come up, we need impartial judges to tell us who's right and who's wrong. And we need a police force. We need soldiers and police to protect us, to enforce the laws. Okay? But again, the state is only supposed to do those three things. They are not supposed to be doing anything else. Hobbes had the Leviathan who gets to dictate everything, and Locke is not okay with this. These are very basic functions for the state, and anything the state does that does not serve one of these three functions is overstepping. Does that make sense? So in all of this discussion of rights and natural rights, and we're going to discuss it more because we're going to talk about John Rawls in a few moments, we need to make a distinction between negative rights and positive rights. Negative rights are rights that others are not allowed to interfere with. Okay? So if my right is a negative right, it means you're not allowed to take it away from me. You're not allowed to stand in my way. For example, I have the right to life. Well, presumably that's a negative right. What that means is I have the right for no one to come along and try and take my life away from me. Alternatively, consider the right to vote. Okay, I have a right to vote, let's say. If that's a negative right, then my right to vote means that nobody is allowed to block my access to the polling location. Okay? Protesters are not allowed to surround a polling station and not permit anyone to enter in order to vote. That is interfering with those citizens' right to vote. As a result, that would be a violation of their rights if voting is a negative right. Positive rights, on the other hand, are rights that people are obligated to assist us with. People are obligated to assist us in taking advantage of this right. So if I have a positive right to life, then it seems like people need to be helping me live. If I have a positive right to life, if I have a positive right to vote, then if I can't get to the polling station on my own, my car's broken down, I'm elderly and I don't have a driver's license anymore, it's the state's responsibility to send somebody around to retrieve me to take me to the polling station. Do you see the difference there? A negative right just means nobody's allowed to interfere with my taking advantage of it. So the state is not obligated to come get me if I can't make it to the polling station. But if my right to vote is a positive right, then the state is obligated to come get me and take me to the polling station. Does that make sense? Now, Locke said we have only negative rights. We have only negative rights. My right to life, my right to own property are simply negative rights. People are not allowed to take my life. People are not allowed to take my property. And the state is there simply to protect those rights. It's the state's job to protect those rights. This is what's called libertarianism. There should be only the restrictions on liberty absolutely, positively necessary to protect the people. Okay? We have those 3 things that the state is supposed to be doing. And if they do something that is not protecting my right to life or my right to own property, they are placing restrictions that are outside of their purview. Does that make sense? Okay. So the state's job is simply to make sure people aren't taking my life, people aren't taking my property. And any restrictions over and above that are not permissible. Now, libertarianism says, and this is political theory libertarianism, there should only be the restrictions on liberty necessary. Now, when we talk about John Rawls, we're going to see that there might be different views on what constitutes necessary.